ghosts that haunt your building have been learning how to breathe. They scan the hallways nightly, vainly searching for a sign. There must be diamonds somewhere in a place that stinks this bad. There are brighter things than diamonds coming down the line. So this week's episode is a bit of a departure from the previous ones. I mentioned early on that when I launched this project and John Darnielle became aware of it, that in a Twitter response to me, he said, I demand a standard deck. And one, super honored, right? Because how often do you have someone who is like the major inspiration for our project take notice of it and like and enjoy it, and then also ask you to do the thing that you do for them? Like, that's super, super cool. Standard is a very, very different type of format than Commander, though, right? Commander, as I have mentioned before, it's a very social format. I make Commander decks based on Mountain Goat songs so I can express the themes of the songs through the Commander deck. It's a really it's a thing that Commander does really well. In fact, I think Commander does it better than any Magic format that exists. Standard decks are designed to win, right? You're looking for the play lines and specific combos using multiples of the same card to get a victory. Like, that is the thrust behind a standard deck. So taking the sort of storytelling angle that I use with Commander decks and applying it to a standard deck has been a real challenge. The decks that I've done so far in the previous episodes, I've put those together in a day or two, and have looked through them and I look at the cards and I try and decide, okay, is this vibing for me? Does this feel the way I want it to feel? Does it feel like the song? I've been working on this standard deck for 2 weeks and I've probably played 75 games with it until I hit the balance that I wanted to hit. So we'll get into the deck itself here in a moment, but of course we always start off in this show talking about the song. And the song that I chose is Young Thousands, which is off the album We Shall All Be Healed. We Shall All Be Healed is a follow-up to Tallahassee, Tallahassee being that first major all-studio album and one that really marks a turning point in the Mountain Goats' career. And We Shall All Be Healed is a very interesting follow-up. There's some stuff on there that's very experimental in terms of what they're doing. I know on one song, I believe it's the opening track, there's the sound of a glass bottle being thrown on the studio floor and just shattering. And the album itself deals directly and a lot with the drug addiction that John Darnielle went through. It's a period of time in his life that had obviously a profound impact on him. I think a lot of big moments in John's life are like that. He seems to carry these things along with him and use them as sort of reference points for the empathy he has for humanity at large. And that being the case, addiction featuring so strongly in the themes of this album, and Young Thousands specifically, which is ostensibly about people who are addicted to methamphetamines and other intravenously injected drugs, and what it sort of does to them, and how it's like a snapshot of the lives of these people sort of in a cohort. So it may seem like a really strange song to try and build a Magic deck around, especially a Magic deck that's not suited to the kind of deck building that I usually do. However, I found it easier to work with this than the first choice. I was originally going to do Clemency for the Wizard King because I thought, oh, Magic cards, I can find people who are trained in the ways of the blade and I can make it all come together. And I was finding the cards, and I could have done that for a Commander deck pretty easily, I think. But trying to make a functional standard deck, not some powerhouse beater, but a deck that could hang and was fun to play, felt really challenging. So when I settled on Young Thousands, there's just that moment internally for me where the song clicked as I was looking at the cards, and I thought, I can make this work. And the thing that really sealed it for me is the card Rabble Rousing. So we're going to switch over and we're going to take a look at the deck real quick and I'll explain what I mean. So in this deck, Rabble Rousing is a card from New Capenna. It's one of my favorite new cards. And when I thought about Young Thousands, quite literally, I thought about mobs of people, right? Just people and people and people on the streets, over so many people. So Rabble Rousing is, I believe I had this in a previous deck. I had it in the Greasefang deck. So you get to make a bunch of tokens whenever you attack with tokens, and it has Hideaway 5, so you can look at the top 5 cards and you can pick one, put it underneath, and when you hit 10 creatures in total, you can cast the card that's underneath without paying its mana cost, and Rabble Rousing sticks around, so you keep getting tokens. So I have a few other decks outside of this project that use Rabble Rousing, and it is a really solid play in decks that have sort of an Enchantress sub-theme. There's also another wonderful card that is really on theme for the ghosts that haunt your building, and that's Hallowed Haunting. Hallowed Haunting says whenever you control 7 or more enchantments, creatures you control have flying or vigilance, and whenever you cast an enchantment spell, create a white spirit creature token, spirit cleric creature token, with this creature's power and toughness are each equal to the number of spirits you control. So I started drawing on some of the things that I've done in other decks to really focus in on the magic side, on the Enchantress sub-theme. Then I looked at what I could do to also enhance the spirit sub-theme for the ghosts. And that takes me directly into the Long Reach of Night, which is a fantastic saga you can put in that also evokes the themes of the songs, right? There's this grasping art. There is this idea of addiction not ever letting go. And so the Long Reach of Night has each opponent sacrifice a creature unless they discard a card. And when you exile, when you hit the third step, you exile Long Reach of Night, and it becomes an enchantment creature spirit. So it boosts the spirits that you make with Hallowed Haunting, which is really, really cool. Then I went for Clawing Torment is another really solid reference to the addiction angle on things. Enchant artifact or creature, and as long as that permanent is a creature, it gets -1/-1 and can't block. So you are literally holding your opponent's creatures hostage, and they can't do anything. Plus, they're continually damaging your opponent. From there, some of the other easy 1-drops, I went with Cut Down as a new one from Dominaria United. So destroy target creature with total power and toughness 5. Again, a metaphor, and especially in a venue like drug addiction that I don't have a ton of experience in, I went with very obvious things. Like, there's not a lot of subtlety here. People get cut down by addiction, so Cut Down works on that front. I'm not a poet laureate here. And then Dockside Chef does a few different things. Enchantment creature, so he feeds the Hallowed Haunting theme. He can also sacrifice creatures so you can draw cards, which is useful. And boats ease into the harbor, bearing real suspicious cargo. He's at the dockside. He sees the boats. Again, going pretty obvious with references here. This other category, we've looked at the 5-drops, the 4-drops, and the 1-drops. We have sort of the meat of the deck in these 2 and 3 drops. We've only got one 3-drop in the deck, and that is Markov Purifier. Again, going very obvious, there's someone waiting for you in an alley with a chain. Haha, it's the Markov Purifier. 2/3 Vampire Cleric with lifelink. At the beginning of your end step, if you gained life this turn, you may pay 2. If you do, draw a card. So that's the other sub-theme in this deck, is some mild life gain. So you can stick around a little bit longer and give yourself a chance to have the enchantment setup go off. The 2-drops, we all just run down. They are either references to creatures I would consider to be part of the, quote, Young Thousands, or they are direct references to the songs or our spirits. So Banalish Sleeper is a fantastic removal spell. It's a fine body, right? You get a 3/1 for 2, but if you kick it, you can force your opponent to sacrifice a creature. It's non-targeted removal. Your opponent has to choose a creature, but if you play it at the right time, you can force them to clear their board. If they've only got one thing out, then that's what gets sacrificed no matter what it is. So if you want to deal with something like Shieldred, which is a very prevalent card in Standard, then this card will help you do that. So I generally use this as removal. But then we're going to skip down a little bit. There's someone waiting out there with a mouthful of surprises. I figure the Phyrexian Missionary was a pretty good representation of that. But there is some recursion with the Phyrexian Missionary. You get a 2/3 with lifelink for 2. Fantastic. If you kick it, you return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand, so you can recur that Banalish Sleeper back and have your removal back in hand one more time. Going back to the Enchantress sub-theme and the spirits, it all works together with the Dawnhart Geist. So 1/3 for 2 Spirit Warlock. So it's a spirit. It boosts the spirits made by Hallowed Hunting. And whenever you cast an enchantment spell, you gain 2 life. That's really handy when this next card is in play. Panicked Bystander, I figured that if there are mobs of people coming down the street, the quote-unquote young thousands, that someone would be freaked out by this. So there's a Panicked Bystander. When it or another creature I control dies, you gain 1 life. At the beginning of your end step, if you gain 3 or more life this turn, you transform Panicked Bystander into Cackling Culprit, which is a 3/5 with the same life gain, and you can pay 1 in a black and give it Death Touch. So that is super helpful. It's a nice big body, it's a fantastic blocker, and that Death Touch can take out a lot of different things. Last 2 cards in the deck, Twinblade Geist comes in and reinforces the spirit side of things. 1/1 with Double Strike for 2. Not that impressive. It can be a nice blocker on the first. If I have a chance to cast this first, I'm going to, because it makes a good sacrifice target for the Banalish Sleeper. It's a good sacrifice target for the Dockside Chef, and when it goes into the graveyard, it has Disturb. You can bring it back and as an enchantment aura and give an enchanted creature Double Strike. So any of the spirits that are getting bigger can get Double Strike. The Banalish Sleeper can get Double Strike. One of your lifelinkers can get Double Strike. It's super handy. That Panicked Bystander that's been transformed into a 3/5 with Death Touch, super useful. And again, the enchantment reinforces that theme. And the last thing that I put in is Necrosynthesis. It's another enchantment, and whenever another creature dies, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. When the enchanted creature dies, you get to look at the top X cards of your library, where X is its power, pull 1 to your hand, put the rest on the bottom in a random order. This seems like an obvious drug reference to me. It gave me the feel of like things going into your body, and I would imagine the rush of what amphetamines feel like when you're injecting them. So it is it's in there for that purpose. It also can make some nice big bodies, especially if you're doing some sacrificing or using your other removal. And then it's some card draw if your thing gets taken out. And then last for the mana base, real simple: Plains, Swamps, Caves of Koilos gets you fixed for color when you want to, and then Scoured Barrens gains you a little bit of extra life. I've had the Markov Purifier or the Phyrexian Missionary gain me 2 life from attacking, and having played Scoured Barrens, that's the 3 life that you need to convert the Panicked Bystander. So it all tends to work together pretty effectively. As I said, this is not a beater of a deck, right? It's not going to probably get you up to Mythic in Arena, but that wasn't the point of this. The point of this exercise was to make a functional Standard deck that evoked the themes and feelings of a Mountain Goat song, because that's what I do in this project. And as such, I'm really happy with it. It has gotten me from silver up to mid-gold. I literally have only been playing this deck on Arena for like the last 2 weeks, and I'm really happy with where it is. So that is that's what we got for you here with this arrangement. So really unique take on this project. I'm extremely honored that John wanted me to build a deck for him. It's Standard legal and will be until everything rotates out this August. I am sure that when the new Phyrexian sets, when All Will Be One launches, and the follow-ups later this year, that there will be some other pieces that can slot in here. Who knows? There may even be pieces that can make this much more contentious in the current meta. The current meta is tough. There's a red deck that plays Kimono meets Kazan. It's a burn deck. It does really well against the deck I've built. The Delver deck with the Haughty Djinn, there's not a whole lot of answers for flyers unless Howard Hunting goes off. So, like I said, it's not a meta-friendly deck, but it does the thing. And that is the coolest part of all of this to me, is that I was able to take what I do with this project and find a way to make it resonate in a standard format that I play on Arena, but is not like my bread and butter. It's not what I do every day. So that's really cool. I'm really pleased with it, and I really hope that you take it and give it a try. I will have a link to the Mox field in the the notes section down below, so you can just copy the deck list and paste it into Arena and give it a shot yourself. So that is going to wrap us up for this week. A couple of housekeeping notes. Next week is going to be, it's another Commander deck, but it's going to actually be taking one of the precons that Wizards has recently released, and I'm going to be upgrading it within a budget and keeping it on theme with a song, because I wanted you to know that, like I've said, I build from the collection that I have, and I wanted to sort of illustrate that you can still do this kind of building even with just a precon and a limited budget. So I actually chose one of the starter precons that they just released a couple weeks ago. So that's going to be a lot of fun. If you dig what I'm doing, I would love it if you would go and support me on Patreon. It's patreon.com/theothertracy. You get the episodes early, you get access to my Discord to talk about all of this stuff, and you literally help me make this stuff, make these videos, take the time to build the decks. It's part of my livelihood, and I would really appreciate it. Leave reviews, all that good stuff. And in the meantime, I hope that between now and the next video, you all are well, and that you have a chance to play Magic with some people that you like. That is sort of always my favorite thing about this, and I hope that you get a chance to do that. So until next week, I hope you're well. Bye.